Hey again guys, and welcome back to the next car review, and I hope you guys are having a really good day because I am too. And I'm here to bring you some fun factor and excitement of these sports cars, capabilities, and everything you need to know about it. This is the Italian sports car that looks like a baby Ferrari, and it is a really good investment, but there are some quirks and there are some flaws with this car. So before we do dive right deep into this car review, make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below, and feel free to give me any car suggestions if you want to make an idea, and maybe I'll make a decision. Otherwise, enjoy this video, and if you do enjoy it, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe for some more car reviews. Without further ado, let's dive right into the Alfa Romeo 4C. Now, I know most of you, and including me, are unfamiliar with Alfa Romeo because they always been expensive to maintain or just not a big fan of the car maker. Now, personally, I am not a fan of Alfa Romeo, but I do like their cars like the Quadrifoglio Giulia. Today, I bring you the exciting, very cheap exotic sports car from Alfa Romeo. This is the Alfa Romeo 4C, and it is a really fun car to drive. I will explain everything you need to know as possible about the Alfa Romeo 4C and why the 4C is a really good Alfa to get if you're just looking for a weekend car to drive in. Now, a quick overview before we get into the production version of the car. So, Alfa made the 4C concept car. The Alfa 4C is a mid-engine and lightweight design sports car. The Alfa Romeo 4C was released as a concept back in March 2011 at the Geneva Motor Show, following the Goodwood Festival of Speed and Frankfurt Motor Show. The project had the same name as the production version, called the Alfa Romeo 4C concept. The Alfa 4C has direct technology and materials derived from the Alfa Romeo 8C, which is the predecessor, which means that the 4C is the little sibling and sharing some styling cues from the 8C, and the 4C resemble a lot like the 8C, just a baby version of it with a 4-cylinder engine. Between the concept compared to the production version of the 4C, they both are very similar, with the biggest difference being headlights, side vents, and mirrors. You can see both of the comparisons between the concept and the production version. But 2 years later, in 2013, the production version of the 4C appeared. It was premiered at the 2013 Geneva Motor Show, and it was only sold in Europe at the time, and the production began in May 2013. Then the US version came to the United States. The Alfa Romeo 4C appeared in the United States in 2014. It was introduced at the 2014 New York Auto Show, with the first 104 Cs being shipped to the United States, with a total of 850 being shipped throughout the year of 2014. The Alfa Romeo 4C has a 1.7-liter inline-4 turbocharged engine producing 240 brake horsepower and can rev up to 6,000 RPM. The 4C can go from 0 to 60 in just 4.2 seconds, and it can reach to an output speed of 160 miles per hour. It has 258 pound-feet of torque and only weighs about 2,487 pounds. 240 horsepower doesn't sound like all that much, because it really isn't. That's like as much power as a hatchback. It's like the BAC mono level too. But the 4C has a great power to weight ratio with just that little average amount of horsepower, because it only weighs less than 2,500 pounds, which makes the acceleration quicker than you would expect from a little sports car. That's pretty insane. The 4C is a small, tiny exotic car with great performance and handling. It feels like a toy when you really drive it for real. The 4C is all about having loads of fun with no power steering. Very low quality interior and driving dynamics, with a turbocharged engine whistling as you shift or let off the throttle, with a great sound from the intake exhaust. Now let's take a look at the styling of the Alfa Romeo 4C. So the 4C looks like a baby Ferrari, right? From its unique styling, especially in red, yellow, or white, and that's just in my opinion. But the front of the car has a triangular front grille with cool spider design headlights. The wheels have a clover leaf look as you can find it on a new Quadrifoglio, and it has a subtle lip spoiler in the back. The 4C has a carbon tub and a dual clutch transmission. The car is really gorgeous and built for lightweight and connection to the road for driving enthusiasts. The 4C doesn't have a crazy high price tag or powerful of the engine like any Ferrari would, like the 458 or the 488 Pista, etc. But the car looks really appealing, and it has some compromises like the interior features and practicality. Now let's dive right into the interior of the Alfa Romeo 4C. So the interior is extremely basic and has a lot of flaws, guys. It is not luxurious, and the inside and the seats are not designed for comfort. There is not much seat padding. When you sit on the passenger side and then notice that there is no glove compartment at all, the cup holders and the center console is usable, but the problem is that when the cup holders can be usable, they are not deep enough to fit a plastic water bottle, for example, unless you have a small item drink. The center console is also plastic. There is no storage pockets on the doors or the center console, but there is storage pocket next to the seats to fit a phone, for example. It depends if the phone is big or small. Now, if the phone is too big, it might not fit in it. But if you have a small phone, you could fit it in the pocket. See, I am not really good explaining these details like this because it's just unusual for Alfa because they're not really that luxurious like that. The Alfa 4C comes standard with an aftermarket CD player. It has basic climate controls and a basic naked steering wheel with no buttons. Behind the steering wheel is a dual clutch transmission, the dual clutch shifter mounted on the steering wheel, and the LCD gauge cluster display. Everything is basic in this car because they put their money towards the carbon fiber and the fun factor of this car. The visibility from behind the car is bad, that when you turn your head at the back when you're in the driver's seat or the passenger seat, no matter what, if you're behind the wheel and you look behind, you can't see the back if you're reversing or trying to park correctly. Now let's dive right into the practicality. The Alfa Romeo 4C only has 2 seats and the inside is very tight. If you are not over 6 feet tall to jump into the car, then this is for you, like me for example. The trunk is directly behind the engine and only has 3.7 cubic feet of trunk space, short for supply, which means that this car is really not meant for driving daily at all, as I'm explaining this. The 4C is truly uncomfortable for daily driving as well, and to its heavy steering with a sporty tuned suspension. Therefore, this car is strictly made to drive on weekends, like a racetrack or through twisty roads like the LA Canyons and the Pacific coast of the United States. That is a great place example to experience the Alfa Romeo 4C's full potential. The car is all about weight savings with a small engine with awesome handling, great steering ratio, and it's really quick too, with a really nice sound quality from a 4-banger than some hatchbacks. I bet this car is extremely fun and never experienced it myself and will probably give it a chance in the near future. One major point that the Alfa Romeo 4C proved is that you don't need a larger weight with crazy 700 to 800 horsepower supercar to have fun like the Ferrari, the McLarens, and the Porsches, etc. If you want a lightweight sports car with balanced horsepower and then work a way up to high tier supercars like these that interest you, you should test drive one of these cars first before going so crazy with a bunch of horsepower. So just remember that the higher the horsepower of the car is, the more expensive it's going to be. Now, additional fact about the Alfa Romeo 4C. So, the Alfa Romeo 4C compete with rivals against the BMW M2, the Porsche Cayman, and the Lotus Elise. And the 4C is referred as a tiny Ferrari, a baby supercar, and has features that you rarely see outside of the exotic car world. Now, the Alfa Romeo 4C came in 2 body styles in 2015, with the Spider version sharing the same engine as the coupe, the horsepower. The only difference is that it added more weight and the top was removable as well. That's the only difference, but it's more of a better look than the coupe version in my opinion. I always like convertibles, and most of the convertibles sometimes always looks better than the coupe version. Alfa Romeo produced a 4C Spider from 2015 to 2020, and apparently Alfa 4C stopped production in 2021. So apparently they're not making any more 4Cs. It's such a beautiful car. It has gorgeous, simple design and everything, and this car is really fun to drive. I've never driven it yet in my life, and I've never driven any sort of car like these. And if you want the Alfa Romeo 4C, it can cost at the minimum base price of $55,000 when it first came out, and you can get it for at least $45,000 at minimum. But if you want the Spider version, you're going to be paying probably $10,000 or more to like $65,000, $67,000 or something like that, or maybe even $70,000. The car feels really good and it sounds really good. It feels like an exotic supercar, just half of the horsepower that's missing, unlike Ferraris that are making 700 to 800 horsepower, and this one is making 240 horsepower. This car is more powerful, but is easier to handle, and the price range is not as expensive as most supercars that you're talking over 200 miles per hour. Personally, I don't like Alfa Romeo that much, but I probably will change my mind as soon as I get behind the wheel of the 4C, because I definitely want to try this thing in the future, and maybe it will change my mind. But the 4C is cool. However, I like the Giulio Quadrifoglio because I find that the most reliable Alfa Romeo, and it's a really good looking sedan. And that 4C is a really good wannabe Ferrari machine, and you should definitely give it a try if you are a small dude or average under 6 feet tall, and then you should fit very comfortably inside. But this car's practicality is very bad, and the seats are not really that comfortable for that long. But you will never get bored of how much thrilling this car is to drive on twisty roads or anywhere. Now, without further ado, let's get inside of the Alfa Romeo 4C, nicknamed the baby Ferrari, and let's put the keys in the ignition and start the engine. I hope you guys enjoyed this car review. See you guys next time. Make sure to please like and subscribe, and make sure to share. Alright, here you go. Take a listen. Now, between the four competitors, do you prefer the Alfa Romeo 4C, the Porsche Cayman, the Lotus Elise, or the BMW M2 Coupe? This is a really hard choice. This is an awesome lineup. I'll let you decide.